hopping along around this facility. I mean, this is literally plopped down in the middle of a swamp. I also, since we were able to hear some of the people screaming, another man screamed out that he was poisoned by Clorox in the water, and he was in the hospital for 4 days. Now, we were told that there was no one who was ever hospitalized overnight, so maybe he was referring to the medical clinic here, but I mean, there are really disturbing, vile conditions, and this place needs to be shut the hell down. Yeah. It needs to be shut down. They want to open up look. If they open up a different facility in a more appropriate place, like if they opened up at Homestead Airport, you know, the way they could establish much more habitable conditions, that's a different story. This place is a stunt, and they're abusing human beings here, and it's an outrage.
Can I make, really quick, and I just want to debunk one thing. My colleagues, and I think for our federal partners, but this idea that the worst of the worst is inside the facility is not true. They are separating them based off of wristbands, based off of orange, yellow, and red. And individuals with small infractions are inside this facility. Civil traffic infractions, suspended license are in there. So the idea that the worst of the worst is in there is not true.
So adding to that point, I'll just add, the only people we saw there were Hispanic-looking males. That's all we saw there. All Hispanic-looking adult males, including those with no criminal infractions at the lowest level. There was one person who was on medical isolation. We couldn't get details about that. I was trying to figure out if it's a public health emergency or a public health concern that puts them in isolation, and we don't know how many people have been put in medical isolation to this point.
State Senator Blaise Godley just came out before you guys and said that conditions were fine, the beds were comfortable, the food was great. Painted a very rosy picture. Your response to that?
Unfortunately, my colleagues, that's because they take this as a game, and that's how they have been operating in there, right? So, but what we just saw is not a game, especially as the congressman just made mention of, that while we were in there, at one point it was clocked at about 81 degrees in a particular spot. And I know for a fact, if you continue to go in, it is even hotter.
Right. It was 83.
83 degrees. Yes. 83 degrees.
And just to read a statement from the wife of a detainee regarding this scheduled tour from his pastor to me yesterday. His wife says they allowed them to take a shower and gave them new clothes, and the food all of a sudden is better. I wonder how long that's going to last after your visit.
And also I want to point out that I don't really want to debate the conditions. My name is Representative Rita Harris, House District 44. We don't need to debate the conditions. The fact is there are people there that most likely do not belong there, and that is enough. Thank you.
Make sure you tell me your name.
Okay, any other questions?
They said they would evacuate for a hurricane, even a Category 1, any hurricane.
Yeah, I'll answer that. So that decision will be made by, obviously, the Director of Emergency Management when to pull that trigger. But he said that there were evacuation plans in place, and most likely what they would do is they would get the people out, they would decompress this facility, and then move them to facilities they've already transferred them out of to bring them here.
Like the county jail.
He better have a lot of time.
Okay, last question. One last one.
How long was your tour?
Yeah. The question about hearings, as a member of the House Oversight Committee, I can tell you after this, I have many phone calls planned with my colleagues to talk about possibly coming down here, possibly holding ad hoc hearings about this facility, and not just facility. This is indicative of a greater problem too across this country. The dehumanizing immigrants, dehumanizing people who are in this country, people who've been in this country, many of whom over a decade, people like my mother who came as a refugee from Cuba. You know, when I was in that facility looking at those cages, I saw young men who looked exactly like me. I saw myself in those cages. And so there will be hearings and there will be accountability on this at the federal level, and of course I know our state partners are going to work on it as well.
The difference in the impression between the Republican legislators and ours tells you all you need to know about the difference in the regard for human life and human beings between people who elect Democrats and people who elect Republicans. We all here clearly ran for different reasons than our friends on the other side of the aisle. We ran to help make people's lives better, and they ran to serve their MAGA master and remain in power. And you know, like every single day, I know we all will continue to fight to make all humans' lives better, and that's what our fight against these kinds of conditions in detention facilities are all about. I'll say just lastly, I think every single one of us here would agree that if you are a criminal and you're an undocumented immigrant,
That's right.
you should be deported.
That's right.
Criminals should not be able to remain as long as they have due process, and they've been detained under our laws. Criminals don't belong in this country, but the problem is. Yes, with due process, exactly. But that's not occurring here, and the rule of law has to be followed. And that's the difference between the impression you were given by the Republican legislators who walked up to this podium before we got here and ours. Thank you all very much.